Welcome to How Do They Afford That, the podcast that peeks into the financial lives of everyday Australians. I'm Michael Thompson. I'm a writer and the co-host of the Fear and Greed Business News podcast. As always, I'm with Canna Campbell, financial planner and founder of Sugar Mama TV, the financial literacy platform that you'll find pretty much everywhere, on YouTube and podcasts like this one, obviously, and books, Instagram, basically everywhere, as I said. Canna, hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm going well, thank you. I'm looking forward to today's topic because it is something that I'm quite comfortable admitting that I get very confused by. We will get to it in a sec. Before we do you have a savings hack for us?
I certainly do, and it's most appropriate for this topic today. And that is 2 words. Tyler Morgan.
Am I supposed to know who this is?
He's got about 500,000 followers on TikTok, but he is this American guy. He must be in his early 20s. He used to work for Apple, and he is everybody's go-to guy for when it comes to buying anything that is from the Apple store. Oh. He is an absolute guru. He breaks down all the different iPhones and gives you his honest opinion as to whether it's worth it or not. And he'll say, well, this new camera is not worth the extra $300 you're going to pay for it. This iPhone mini is actually the best gadget you can get. He even goes through the desktops, the AirBooks, the iPads. You go to his TikTok account and you'll resurface 3 days later. It is fascinating.
And what did you say his name is? Tyler Morgan.
Tyler Morgan.
Okay. And how many followers did you say he has?
Just under 500,000 last time I checked.
Guess how many followers I ticked over on TikTok?
Are you on TikTok? No.
It's mostly book-related content, all kind of publishing kind of things.
You do funny content. If I see your Instagram stories come up, I do go and click in there intentionally.
Oh, excellent. Well, a Michael Thompson author is where you will find me on pretty much everything. But guess how many followers I ticked over?
I'm going to say 200 or 300.
27.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I started a while ago, though. That's the problem. It's
consistent.
Steady growth. But growth is good. Anyway, away from my TikTok failures, we are talking about mobile phones today because phones have gotten expensive, really expensive.
I almost fell over when I went and looked at the new iPhone.
Yeah, but the problem is, though, you need to have them. There really isn't an option not to have a phone. I mean, some people do, but they also won't be able to enjoy my kind of TikTok videos or my Instagram reels. But everything operates through our phones now. So there's so many questions that come out of this. Kind of, what is the best way to actually do it? Is it better to buy your phone outright? Do you kind of get a prepaid kind of call plan? Do you get the whole lot on a postpaid plan and just pay by the month? Or there's so much to consider, and I suspect I just confused myself and you just with that very brief intro. So
I think you're overthinking it.
Okay, well...
Which I have a feeling is something you might do on a regular basis.
Ouch. That's shots fired early today. Let's get into it in that case. There are 2 main options, are there not, for handsets? If we're just talking about your handsets, and we're kind of actually heading into, at the moment, we kind of always consider September and October to be kind of phone season because it's when Apple often has its new phones out and Samsung is looking at kind of releasing new phones and things. So there's always a lot of talk about new phones at this time of year. So do you buy your phone outright or do you go on some kind of a payment plan? Let's start with buying outright. What are the benefits?
All right, so buying your phone outright obviously can be a bit of a dent to the savings because it is a large expense up front. However, that expense can also depend on the brand, the memory size, the model, like how new or how old it is, and of course, when is the next model coming out? And then you can consider whether you want to buy that phone brand new, a refurbished one, or buy one secondhand. So there is a lot to consider when it comes to buying a phone, let alone which way you want to go, whether paying for it outright and the various different plans. Now, one of the things about this is when you buy from a store, sometimes they'll actually let you finance your phone. So if you need to buy a new phone, but you don't have the savings that you should have. Sometimes I'll let you pay it off. And someone actually shared with me quite a clever hack. Her and her husband both needed new phones. They were just really old and falling apart. And they actually bought secondhand phones with buy now, pay later. Now, that is not a recommendation to use buy now, pay later, but it was quite clever for them because they were able to pay for their phone outright, but pay it off a 6-week payment plan.
Okay. This is really where I get confused. And I know that you've accused me of overthinking these things, but I do worry about then, okay, you buy your new phone, and this could be kind of $1,800.
Some of them are over $2,000 now. Yeah, depending on kind of what you want. And so there are other benefits to buying it outright, assuming that you can actually afford to do so. What are they? Well, you can go on a really cheap, cost-effective SIM-only phone plan. And this is where the savings really do stack up in comparison to a postpaid contract where you'll be paying the phone off and obviously paying for the service that you're using.
Okay, and so that if you go with a SIM-only phone plan, what does that get you? Please don't say just the SIM only, because otherwise it's going to make me look really silly.
Look, there are so many different plans out there, and I even found one that started at $1. Now, obviously, the amount of data and what that included was minimal, but generally speaking, they range between $20 to $25 per month. So if you're someone who is paying, say, $80 or $150 per month on a postpaid phone plan where you're paying your phone off, there are some great savings in the long run by buying a phone outright and then just using a SIM-only plan.
Do they still have, do you remember, the prepaid phone where you go and buy like $30 of credit and then you apply that to your phone? Because that is what you would use in this situation, isn't it? If you were to... You were looking at me like I've just said something really, really silly.
No, you don't. You can buy a SIM card with a certain amount of credit, and once it's used, it's gone. Like, remember the old phone cards that you'd slide into the Telstra public phone things? You can equivalent of that.
Well, I'm also thinking about kind of when I was using my phone for texting back in the day, back in kind of high school, and you would get a $10 phone text card kind of thing, and that would come with like 50 text messages, and so they would be the equivalent of like 20 cents or 25 cents each. You are just shaking your head at me.
I'm lost for words. No, you really have overanalyzed this. It's pretty straightforward. There are lots of different plans out there. So you really need to think about how much data you're using, how often you use your phone, whether you're someone who checks in a home and then lives off Wi-Fi, or whether you need your own data for running around. Like, there's so many different elements that come in here. And I think you're like overthinking about you're trying to master the art of the perfect phone plan and the best way to buy a phone.
I get very paranoid around whenever my phone contract ends. I do get very paranoid, and I can't commit to a new one, and I delay the decision for months trying to kind of weigh up and compare the best phones and the best phone plans. So these are the things that you are learning about me now as we do this podcast.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you are coming close to your contract and you know you want to change your handset over and upgrade, even if it hasn't necessarily finished, quite often you can call up your telco and say, look, I'm 3 months off my contract expiring. I've been a long, loyal customer. Is there any way we can end my contract sooner and I can upgrade my handset faster?
Oh, really?
And I think about 90% of the time I've done this, they're like, no problem, we can do that for you. You've been with us X amount of years and that's fine. And they'll even have a look at my plan for me online, look at how much data I use and how I use my phone, and tell me, actually, there's a better, more competitive plan available. Would you like to swap as well? So it pays to maybe delegate and lean on the experts in this area where they can actually look at how you use your phone and give you some advice as to where and how to save money.
The look on your face while we do this episode is really just one where you have realised that you are, on this subject at least, you're dealing with a bit of a simpleton.
No, I'm just thinking your poor wife. Like,
she is very patient when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Can we go back onto the buying outright and buying the phone outright? And so we went through some of those pros, that you can own the phone straight away. You don't necessarily have to sign a contract because you are going into a shop and you are paying and you are taking the phone home with you, that you can go with a SIM-only phone plan potentially, and that you compare that with your phone. And there are fewer ongoing fees attached to that.
Correct. So the downside is obviously a bit of a wipeout of your savings. But the other thing is you might miss out on certain bonuses, perks, discounts that might be on special at the moment. And you could also miss out on device discounts. So, as I mentioned, they might waive the last couple of months of your contract if you sign up to a different plan or a more competitive plan. So you miss out on that particular opportunity potentially.
Okay. But you would arguably have the freedom to bounce around between providers depending on where you're getting a good deal, provided it is on one of those plans that at the moment a lot of them seem to offer 1 month only plans, and you can kind of jump between providers as required.
And you can try a lot of different providers to see which one's the right one for you, and you can take your mobile phone number with you as well.
I have just realised halfway through this recording that we bought our phones outright. At the most recent time. And I was trying to think in my head, we changed providers and we did it without any problems at all, that we just kind of jumped from one to another because they were offering a really good deal, kind of a 6-month kind of reduced rate and good kind of 5G access and good data. And we did it because we had made the decision to use our savings to buy our phones outright. And it actually worked really well.
So how much time and energy did you waste, tearing yourself apart trying to work out the best deal?
No regrets. It was a lot of time, a lot of effort, but I got a good deal.
I have a question for you then. Have you insured your phone? You have young kids. How could you not insure your phone?
We've been through my problems with insurance in the past, haven't we? Remember
No, not with mobile phone insurance.
No, but more broadly. I mean, clearly I've got a bit of an issue in this space. Got good kind of life insurance and good of these, but
that's right. There's a bit of a black hole in the asset protection area of your life.
Yeah, something along those lines, which I'd best not go into too much detail. But in terms of phone insurance, we haven't got standalone phone insurance, but we did add it on as an extra within our home insurance, home and contents insurance. And
so portable cover, is that right?
Yes.
There you go.
So there we go. I feel like I have actually done the right thing.
I think that's a really smart, savvy move. Do you feel good owning your phone outright, knowing that you are not paying a premium to have this thing that's depreciating value?
Yeah, because look, I reckon for the last 15 years, we have always just gone on a plan. And we'll get to plans in a second because I want to get a bit more of an understanding of how they work and some of the costs that can be attached to that. And the most recent one that we did was actually a 36-month plan, and it was too long. And we didn't have the flexibility to go when we saw all these discounts and offers being offered at other telcos. We wanted that flexibility to actually go to another company, and we didn't have it because we were locked in for 36 months, which is quite a long time. And as a result, we thought we'll dip into our savings, use that to buy our new phones outright.
You fixed your own problems,
I realise now that I've got a lot more knowledge in this area than I thought I did coming into this. I was so confused walking into the studio here today. I'm like, I'm really going to struggle talking about phones. And here we go. You can take a little break if you want, and I'll just carry on.
You can have your own TikTok account talking about mobile phones and mobile phone plans and how to save the most amount of money. You have your own Tyler Morgan account. I could go from 27 followers to 22 at that rate. I suspect I would actually lose them. All right, we'll come back in a second and we will get into mobile phone plans. All right, Canna, we're talking about mobile phones today, and we have discussed in some detail buying your phone outright and some of the benefits and the downsides to that. And it is a good option if you are able to afford it. A lot of people, though, go on a payment plan for their mobile phones. How exactly does this work? And I know I'm opening up a can of worms with this one. Take me through this, please. All right. So the total cost of the device is actually spread over a 12, 24 or 36-month interest-free period. And the phone has been bundled into your plan. And if you upgrade your phone with the same telco, you don't necessarily need to change the SIM card or change your number at all. And then when you're doing this, quite often there might be, some sales going on, so you get some good discounts. They can look at your account, see what particular perks you might be entitled to. And you also may be able to look at bundling other options such as, internet, phone, entertainment, and access other potential discounts depending on who the telco provider is.
Okay, one of the cons, if we look at then the flip side of that, obviously you are locked in for some time, up to 36 months, as I was.
I'm on a 36-month plan too, and I don't have any commitment issues.
Really?
No.
Oh, maybe that's just me. But how are you not kind of looking around at other deals and going, wow, there's a bit of competition in the market at the moment. I could get a good deal over there.
Well, I know I'm on a very competitive rate.
Of course you would be, actually. Of course. You would have had the best deal locked in.
I get on the phone. No, don't hold me back from, speaking to customer service and picking their brains.
Do you reckon all of these places, all these telcos and the banks and everything, see your number coming, oh, God, it's Canna?
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. I'm like, hi, my name's Canna.
And 10 seconds later, they are offering you the best deal they have just to get off the phone.
Well, that's why I get a good deal. But whenever it's come to my contract coming to an end or getting close to coming to an end, I jump on the phone and call them and I ask them to look at my data and look at what is the best rate. And then I go away and compare. And if I'm happy, I will commit going forward. So, and they've often given me really good competitive rates where I watch my mobile phone monthly amount come down quite substantially. So I'm not trying to find the cheapest plan possible, but I'm very satisfied with the savings that have been offered to me each time I've had to renew my contract. But obviously it goes without saying, when you go on a payment plan and you bundle your phone expense and, the service that you're paying for, you are locked into a contract and you don't own the phone outright until that device is paid off. And telcos will also run a credit check before you sign up.
Oh, will they?
Yes.
I suppose that makes sense.
Well, they're giving you a, $2,000 phone potentially. So they need to know that it's obviously in safe hands.
But you are paying it off as well, aren't you? I mean, it's not... And you can actually see the portion of the plan that is the repayment of the phone per month, can't you?
Exactly. It's all very transparent and broken down for you. And then, of course, you can package in things like insurance into your monthly mobile phone plan as well, which can also be quite handy. I mean, I'd be interested to know how much you pay extra to have your mobile phone.
It is a sum of money. Come on, the fact that I knew that we have it insured should be enough right now.
But all these little things do obviously add up to your monthly mobile phone plan, when you are paying it off and you're paying, obviously, the service provider, and then you factor in those other additional expenses.
What happens if you don't take out insurance and then something happens to your phone while you're on that plan?
Bad luck. You got to go buy a new phone.
Why not?
That's why I will always have insurance.
Okay.
And if you think about it, how easy it is these days to drop your mobile phone and the screen gets smashed and it stops working, or your 2-year-old throws your mobile phone off the balcony of a 14th floor apartment block.
That's an awfully specific example to give without any kind of personal experience. You actually look like you're still traumatized from that. Does it amaze you that people do not put their phones in cases and put the glass protector on it as well?
I feel major anxiety.
Yeah.
But I was talking to someone who actually worked in a phone shop, and she said the amount of people that come in that have dropped their mobile phones down the toilet.
Really?
And they hand it to her to help.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. She said it's disgusting. But it's one of those things where there's a high risk of something happening to it, whether it fall, whether it gets dropped into the water or gets stolen, you leave it somewhere. So insurance, when you look at the cost of replacing that mobile phone, is quite often worth it.
Okay. On a phone plan, there's usually a smaller selection of options available, right? Of both the phone and the plan that you can actually pick from.
Yes.
So you have limited choice.
Your selection is definitely limited.
Okay. And if you are going to get one of those, you are typically looking at the higher end phones, aren't you? There's not too many phone plans where you're dealing with like a $500 or $600 phone.
No, they've mastered the art of marketing us so we upgrade to, the premium top shelf mobile phone.
Okay. Who do you think is suited to each of these kind of things? We've talked about buying your phone outright and we've talked about going on a plan, and the two are much more simple than I thought they were when we began. Who are they suited to? Say, starting with the buying your phone outright, who would that be suited to?
I would say anyone that's on a tight budget but needs a phone. Also, I think for some children that need to have a mobile phone for safety. And I know you're frowning at me right now,
I'm
but
not, no, I'm
there
not.
are a lot of kids out there that need to have, their parents need to be able to get a hold of them for whatever various reasons. This is something that actually makes it very, very affordable.
I thought you were calling me a child because I have prepaid my phone, and so that's why I was frowning. I'm sorry. There's no judgment about because we need a phone as a medical device as well in our household, and so we needed an additional phone that's not as good as kind of the fancy high-end ones, but yeah, prepaid, buying the phone outright is really the only option there.
And I had the same for my son. You know, he has to have a mobile phone. So we actually used an old phone that was off a plan from many, many years ago. So we don't need to worry about the cost of that. And I've prepaid that SIM card for him to use. And another good point for everyone that's listening is mobile phones resale value is actually quite high. I have always sold my mobile phones on Gumtree once I've come off contract and upgraded my handset. Always sold, and I have made like $500-$600 each time.
Really?
And if you take that off the cost, again, it helps bring the cost down. The amount of people that have old phones sitting in the bottom of a drawer somewhere, that's cash that could be against your home loan, off the credit card debt, or holiday money.
Yeah, no, I have a problem letting go of things, and so I just in case one day I might need that phone, I'm going to keep. And you know what? You can actually pinpoint this as the moment at which I become a hoarder.
Yeah, the anxiety is coming rushing back to me.
Yeah, 40 years' time, I'm just going to be surrounded by stuff, and it will start right here with a drawer full of old mobile phones. The other option being a phone plan that is suited to kind of everyone else, I suppose.
People who use their phone a lot, they value having the latest gadget or latest iPhone. They need a large memory. There's someone whose job requires, using all the features within the phone, potentially, the video functions and the photography side. They're the people that will actually value upgrading to the latest iPhone every time it comes.
That is actually a really good point. And the photography side is because we've got young kids. And so when we were tossing up which new phones to get, we thought, well, we're not actually going to buy a standalone camera, but we want to take good quality photos of the kids through these years. So we thought, well, we can take the money that you would otherwise put into buying a good camera.
Which is expensive as
absolutely. Yeah. And we'll go, okay, we can actually justify it, at least justify it to ourselves that way, that we are going to be able to take good quality photos because we've bought a more high-end phone. And it's just your kind of standard iPhone 14 or whatever one of the most recent ones was, but it helped us feel a little bit better about the purchase.
I'm glad. I'm really glad.
There is so much judgment. I have never seen the number of eyebrow raisers, and actually even, I think I saw a full-on eye roll at one point. Okay, rapid fire, a couple of quick questions to finish on. International roaming, and just kind of thinking about things that can cause
blowouts.
Cost blowouts. International roaming, where do you stand?
All right, so you need to give your telco provider a call and change your plan so that they're aware that you are traveling overseas and that obviously your phone is activated, and let them know exactly where you're going. And also have a look at, well, I'm going to be staying in a hotel, so I can tap into the hotel Wi-Fi. How much data do you really need? Or are you going to be out and about trekking, skiing down a mountain or trekking up a mountain? Like, how much data do you really need? And you can buy some incredibly great value SIM cards that have mobile roaming data attached that can be absolutely brilliant.
Okay, next rapid fire question. Family plans and data sharing or data banking. Do you know anything about any of this?
Yes, I know a little bit or enough. And this is, again, one of the great things about, I guess, being a loyal consumer and bundling these packages together, because you are able to access some really great value perks, discounts, and obviously really streamline your bills as well. Okay.
Next one, tax. What if you use your phone for work?
So, interesting one there. It's got to be done within reason. So if you say, for example, if you're claiming 100% of your mobile phone off your tax, but you work in an office with landlines on your desk, that's going to be a little bit suspicious to the ATO, and they have every right to question that and to ask for your statements so that they can have a look at the people you're calling, whether they're clients and customers and whether it's work related or not. So you've got to do it within reason. Obviously, look at, okay, how much do I use it for personal use? How much do I use it for work use?
That is intense. Okay, one more rapid fire one. How do you compare? Is there an easy way to kind of compare what the different telcos are offering?
Yes, there is so much information out there, which I'm scared to tell you about because you might go and dive in and never come out.
That's right.
But, the comparison websites, I think, are a brilliant place to start. And I do recommend calling your telco provider up and asking them what they think and actually letting you know what the data is that you're using, whether it's increased recently or whether you're actually not using as much data, which is what's happened to me in the past, which was a great insight. So then I could use it to shop around and compare. So definitely shop around. That is when you can spend some time comparing. But then once you've made that decision, draw a line in the sand, Michael, and move on with your life.
I feel like this has become a very personal episode very quickly. One last point is in picking the network that you're going to be aligning with or using. And here's my little kind of thing that I discovered through copious research, is that some of you really only have a few options in terms of the main networks that are being offered in Australia, being Telstra, Optus, and TPG. And then you have a lot of the other providers, a lot of the other telcos that actually then use those networks, and that you can actually then find a lot of the almost discount providers are using the networks of the major providers. And so that if you know, for instance, that you have poor reception in your area with one of those majors, but another one is good, but it might be too expensive for you, you can actually look and research to see which of the discount telcos is using the network that gets you the best results. And you might be able to shop around and get a better deal using that. How did I do?
Amazing. Oh my gosh, right off the coattails of the expensive providers with those discount ones. I think it's fantastic.
I wish it had come to me earlier. I would have nominated that as the savings hack at the start of the show, not in the final minute of the show when it suddenly occurred to me right at the very end. I'm going to do a very quick recap of everything that we've covered, because this is there's actually a surprising, well, I think there's a lot in this. The two main options are buying your phone outright or going on a plan. The pros for buying it outright, you can own it straight away, no contract to sign. You've got more choice of SIM-only plans that you can actually pair with your phone, and then there's really no ongoing cost over a year or more. The cons being, of course, that it is expensive upfront. Depending on the phone. It can be cheaper if you're buying a more affordable phone. You might also miss out on kind of bonuses and perks and discounts, etc. And you can miss out on device discounts if, in the scenario that you were giving, that at the end, as you're approaching the end of your contract, that you might actually be able to have your telco waive that. But these kind of plans or buying it outright kind of suits really anyone who is on a budget. It might suit kids, people who don't necessarily need the high-end kind of phone and are willing to kind of shop around and look at different phones for different budgets, rather than kind of being almost railroaded or directed towards a premium phone as part of a plan. The payment plans are devices kind of whether the cost is spread out across 12 months or 24 months or 36 months, as we have learnt. That is the one that you are on, the 36 months. And the phone has the plan bundled in with it, but you can actually see what percentage of it is coming out as the phone cost. There are a bunch of kind of discounts and a bunch of things that you can kind of benefit from being on a plan, and they can also include lots of international minutes or international texts and various kind of things as part of that, and you need to do your research before you make that decision. But you are also locked into a contract to pay off that device, and you won't actually own the phone outright until you have reached that. There might be a credit check as part of kind of signing up in that process, so if you've got something nasty that you're trying to hide, it may well be discovered. There is also phone insurance issues that you need to be aware of what will happen if you damage your phone while you are on a plan. That it is bad luck if you're not insured. And a bunch of those other things. Make sure you check out the comparison sites to help you shop around. Did I miss anything?
I don't believe so. However, I should point out, when it comes to that question of tax, if you have bought your phone outright and it is under $300, you can claim that as immediate tax deduction if you're using that phone for work. But if it is over $300, it has to be depreciated over a 3-year period.
And it's always good to get some advice and some assistance.
That little hack might help fatten someone's tax return.
Indeed. All right, we've covered a lot. How do people find you if they want more information?
The fastest place to get in contact with me is through Instagram at SugarMamaTV. And my website will be up and running again after it was hacked if you want to get a free budget template in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. And you can hear me every day with Sean Aylmer on Fear and Greed Business News, Australia's best business podcast. Thank you very much for listening to How Do They Afford That? Remember to hit follow on the podcast and please leave us a review as well. Next week, we are diving into the world of superannuation. We are basically doing your superannuation health check and everything you might have ever wanted to know about super. We are going to cover it next week. Don't miss it.